Right? Just more proof that the government does not care about you. The health industry, the pharmaceutical industry does not care about you. They care about money. That's basically all they care about. This article from the Natural Blaze goes over fluoroquinolone type of antibiotic / chemotherapy drugs that are being highly prescribed for non-cancer chemo-related issues. The most common is Cipro, which I have personal experience with in my family. So let's go through the article here. It starts off, it's not appropriate to give people cell-destroying chemotherapy drugs when they don't have cancer. That should be obvious. It should not need to be said, but it's happening every day when people are prescribed fluoroquinolone antibiotics. Cipro, Levaquin, Floxin, and Avelox to treat ear, bladder, prostate, sinus, and other infections. They are chemotherapy drugs, but they have been mass-marketed as antibiotics by the FDA. And then it details all the adverse effects of taking these drugs. I won't go through them. They're pretty in-depth. But, go to the original article and read those. And then it says, I could go on. There are many, many, probably hundreds of journal articles noting the deleterious effects of fluoroquinolones on human cells. The biochem in them is daunting, though, so rather than going further with a list of terms such as topoisomerase interpreter and tubulin assembly, I'll point you toward this video that describes how they work. And then obviously click the video there on the original page. It says these kind of drugs do the same thing to human mitochondria that they do to bacteria. Mitochondria are structurally very similar to bacteria, and it is generally accepted that mitochondria are ancient bacteria that adapted to live symbiotically within eukaryotic cells a few billion years ago. Mitochondrial destruction leads to oxidative stress, which can lead to all sorts of chronic diseases, including the diseases of modernity, such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, ME, autism, Gulf War syndrome, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, diabetes, cancers, and others. The FDA knows how dangerous these drugs are. It's a ridiculous and obscene violation of the Hippocratic Oath, because both doctors and the FDA refuse to acknowledge that fluoroquinolones are chemo drugs, not just antibiotics. The adverse effects of these dangerous drugs aren't recognized. Like all cell-destroying chemo drugs, fluoroquinolone-induced cellular destruction leads to increased oxidative stress, which causes multiple symptom, often chronic illnesses. Fluoroquinolone toxicity syndrome looks and feels a lot like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, ME, etc. The damage done to a person's cardiovascular system by fluoroquinolones can lead to heart attacks long after exposure to the drug has stopped. The depletion of magnesium from cells by fluoroquinolones can lead to type 2 diabetes. Most ironically, drug-induced cellular destruction can cause cancer. And like I said, I had my mother took Cipro, and she had a lot of the symptoms I just read. I don't know if she would have gotten them anyway. I don't know genetically if she was predisposed or if there were side effects of being prescribed the Cipro. So this article hits home for me. Very close. The FDA negligently allows cell-destroying drugs to be given to people to treat simple infections and traveler's diarrhea. The FDA allows fluoroquinolone chemo drugs to be given to kids. Ciprodex eardrops are approved for children as young as 6 months old. The FDA is not protecting you from cell-destroying drugs. Do you want to take a cell-destroying chemo drug when a relatively benign antibiotic in the cephalosporin or penicillin class could get rid of your infection? Do you want to give your child a chemo drug? Of course not. That's ridiculous. But like I said to start, government and business do not care about you. They care about making the most money possible, and apparently these drugs make them a lot of money. Disgusting. The system really needs to change.